Welcome, guys, to podcast number 54 of Our Ketogenic Life.
Hey, guys.
Today we're going to talk about ketosis and how long does it take to get in ketosis.
Right.
Common question for a lot of people who are just starting out and want to know, because I hear so much about the ketogenic diet, getting ketosis and, doing the urine sticks and things like that, checking for ketones, and if you're a little bit more advanced, you do the blood sticks and finger sticks and things like that.
We should sometime do, which I know some of it, if you're listening on the podcast, you can't see, but we should do for those who are watching the YouTube stream, do a stick and show people how easy it is. And
for the ketone sticks?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you've ever had your blood sugar checked,
Yeah.
like at your doctor's office, that's exactly what it's like. It's just a different strip and a different meter.
Right.
But it's important that we know what ketosis is to begin with, and then how do we get into it, and then we'll end up talking about some tips at the very end to help get you there and let you stay there for a while. First of all, we've said this before, and it's a broken record, but your body needs energy.
Right.
And right now, if you're doing a standard American diet, is getting it from carbs and from sugar. And what we want to do is we want to change that fuel source. And that's what ketosis is all about. It's about the ketone bodies. So basically, ketosis is a metabolic state in which your body uses fat after it's been converted to ketones for energy.
Right. And really, back up a little bit, is, really when people say ketogenic, it's really not a diet, it's a state of metabolism. It's a state, I don't know how to say it. How would you say it? It's a metabolic state.
Yeah, it's a metabolic
ketogenic.
state.
If you're ketogenic, so it's really not. Someone had said the other day, oh, maybe you guys should, you always get, sometimes people who will give us advice, like, well, why don't you all, say, just call it low carb, don't call it ketogenic. I'm like, well, but, low carb is not really, that's not really what we're going for.
Right.
So...
That's how you get there.
Yeah, that's how you get there. But mainly I think low carb has kind of I think a lot of times still people who do the ketogenic way of eating, they still don't understand what they're doing. They don't understand what they're doing it for. And so sometimes I think, okay.
What's the purpose?
Right, what is the purpose?
Point.
It's not really just trying to eat low carb.
Right.
That's some of the other type of diets. But, our goal is to be healthy. Our goal is to, change the way that our body is working, the way our metabolism, that we're not just feeding it, with glucose and sugar, with, carbs. I think still people don't understand why you don't want to feed your body all the glucose and the carbs and that kind of thing.
Right.
So I don't want to get off on a tangent, but
well, kind of like to your point too, and this is how we're going to get into ketosis. But you can be low carb, but you don't have you're not necessarily not be in ketosis or in a ketogenic diet, because they're not one and the same.
Right.
An Atkins diet is a low carb diet, but
it's nowhere near being ketogenic.
It's not ketogenic because some of the things that we're going to talk about with the problems at the end is with the Atkins diet. If you're trying to switch from burning sugar, which things like protein gets broken down to sugar eventually, then it's you're not really changing your energy source. You're not burning that fat that you want to burn. That's been stored up over a period of time. Right.
And everybody's different. What some people think of low carb, if you've been eating 700 carbs a day, sometimes people
I bet you there's a lot of people that if you've never done it and you're just kind of
check how many carbs you're eating a day.
I bet you're eating 300 or 400 carbs
at least.
Easy.
My parents, sometimes they'll think, oh well, I didn't do bad. I'll ask them, and Mom, if you're listening, sorry, but I'm like, okay, that is not low carb. It's low carb for what they've been doing.
Right. It's better.
But it's not right. Yeah. And so, and then again, like you said, just what are you doing it for? What we really, our goal is to be healthy. Some people, eating one Reese's a day would be low carb for some people. It's really what is your Like, what is your goal? What's your standard of what we're trying to do? Our standard is to get into ketosis for your health.
Right.
You know,
there's so much evidence getting into ketosis
Right.
really does help.
Yes.
With your longevity, as far as your chronic inflammation problems and things like that.
Right.
There's a lot of cancer research,
right.
Things that are in the pipeline that are promising. Again, it takes time for these studies to, to do their work. And, they're talking, 10 or 20 year studies.
Right.
And they're just in the very beginnings of a lot of these studies.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of benefits from getting in ketosis, and it's not through a low-carb diet.
Right.
It's a good point, though.
Right. Okay.
So ketosis, what do we need to do? Most people have to be under 50.
Right.
A lot of people have to be under 20.
Right.
To get in ketosis. So
under 20
carbs.
grams. Yeah.
20 grams of carbs.
Total
grams.
Carbs. Yeah.
So, what we want to do is when we're trying to get in ketosis, we're going to get some tips to help get you there a little bit further quicker. But, the base test is you have to get the carbs down. You have to get them down. And it's individualized. It's not the same for everybody. It's not the same for me and Danae.
Right.
We have different tolerances. And, some of that may be because, male versus female. It may be due to metabolism. It could be due to exercise. So there's a lot of different things that can affect it. But you're going to have to get those carbs down. You're going to have to get them down at least to 50, under 50 grams per day.
Right.
And more likely at the beginning of it, you're going to have to get down to 20.
Yeah.
And if you're not tracking those things, then you're not going to be able to get the results and the success that you want.
Right.
Again, we go back to our story. We did this, pretty much on a religious type basis at the very beginning, and we got our carbs down and we got the results that we wanted. And it doesn't mean you have to have your carbs always down to 20 to 50 the rest of your life, but you have to get them down to get the results that you want. And you made a good point earlier, is what's your goal? What is your goal for this? Is it just weight loss? Is it getting healthier? We have people that we diagnose fatty liver with. And a lot of times people think, well, it's because you're eating too much fat. But if you look the way that fructose is broken down, and the storage of it goes to your liver. It gets stored as fat in your liver. So to get to that fat, you have to get your metabolic system down to where you're having insulin, at a very low level. As long as your insulin stays high, then you're not going to get into ketosis because it's going to turn off all those processes. Right. It's a physiological type problem. And, we use the example of if you were on Earth, 500 years ago, you may not, you may eat well today. You may kill something and find some berries and things like that. But it may be a couple days that you're not getting the foods that you need. Right. You may go, you can't find anything. Maybe it's wintertime, and your body is made so when you're eating that excess foods to store it for later on because it wants to protect itself.
Right.
It wants to survive. And if you're not storing those things, then, you may go without food and, you may die because you don't have it. Right. The problem is now is we don't go days without eating.
No. Most people don't go hours without eating. No.
So we keep replenishing our body over and over with this energy storage of sugar turning into fat into your liver. So what we want to do is be able to get rid of the sugar, get rid of the carbs, drop your insulin level, and then that will kind of trigger your body to start burning fat, and then you can get in ketosis. So if you're just starting with us, and we talked about just a minute ago that sometimes you don't have to stay between 20 and 50 long term, but when Danae talked about getting into your goals, if you're wanting to get healthier, you have to drop it down and you have to keep it down at the beginning so that your body can learn a different process of trying to get energy.
Right.
So the main thing to get in ketosis is you drop your carbs.
Right. And again, reiterate, what is ketosis? Is making ketones.
Your body's using your body is using the ketones from the liver for your energy source.
Right, because it's not getting when you drop the carbs down. I'm trying to think. Okay, from a layman, if someone's just trying to listen, to remind them, when you drop your carbs down.
Your body still needs energy.
Your body still needs energy, and because it's used to getting energy from carbs, which really break down sugar to glucose, all that good stuff. So when you are dropping your carbs down, again, your body needs energy. So your liver then will start making ketones,
which your body can use.
Which your body uses, and it's much better.
Much better.
Yeah. And it's not that you're going to stay in ketosis. That's another thing we probably need. It's not that you're going to stay in ketosis all the time.
The rest of your life.
Right, yeah.
I mean, you could.
But it's probably better to cycle in and out, especially for several people, women. I mean, there's different people,
And there's life, too, with that.
Exactly. And I think, even like you said, back, hundreds of years ago, if somebody, you had to forage and get, hunt, you didn't always have, tons of food available like we did. So if somebody ran across something, if they came across, apples or whatever, they're going to eat them. If they came across berries or honey, they're going to eat it.
Right.
I mean, it's not like they're going to say, oh, well, they'll get me out of ketosis. They're going to say, oh, it's going to mess me up.
Yeah.
They're going to eat it,
Survival.
But that's because then it's in season. You don't have it all the time. Right. So I think our bodies, like I said, are created. That's why, the Lord just is so good. He created us with...
He's so smart.
2 different energy sources, so that, like I said, that we do have where we can use that
right
quick,
away.
That quick energy, but then we need something that's going to sustain us long term.
Right.
So we weren't meant to eat all the carbs and all the sugar and all the things that we eat all the time. So anyway, so reminding us what really ketosis is an energy source.
Right.
Used when you drop your carbs down and not use sugar.
And the byproducts of the ketogenic lifestyle is like I said before, the studies are so promising as far as the longevity, even things with like cholesterol and heart disease and Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and things like that, and cancers. There's a lot of great research out there.
We probably should also I know we say all the time, we always remember, we only do one podcast a week, but we should remember to try to remember some of the things that we discuss all the time, but sometimes it's hard to do a whole podcast on it, but maybe bringing a couple of studies on just the research, the studies on things like cholesterol.
You know what would be good too, if you guys are on here and you're on our Facebook page, or we have our Ketogenic Life Facebook page we do lives on. That'd be a great time to have a Q&A on there to get for people to ask questions. Yeah. To see what's on you guys' mind that are listening to this now.
Right. Okay.
Good idea.
Yeah.
All right. Some problems with getting in ketogenic and getting into ketosis. You're not eating enough fat. Like we talked about a minute ago, Atkins. It's a high protein, low carb diet. So you're getting the protein. Again, if you're eating a lot of protein and you're eating too much at that point that your body needs, hey, your body's pretty smart. It's going to say, hey, I got too much. I need to store this. So when we say you're not eating enough fats, basically you got 3 food groups. You got fat, you got carbs, you got proteins, right?
That's what's known as macros. Right? Okay.
All right. So
macronutrients. So
if you're already going low carb, you say, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to eat low carb. Okay? And then you don't eat enough fats. Well, the only thing left is proteins.
Right.
So you're going to eat a lot of that protein.
Right.
And so you have to be conscious about the fats. And we're not talking about the bad fats. We're talking about the good fats. We've talked about that a lot on our podcast.
Yes.
So you're eating 3 of the macros, and we're not eating less. We're just eating less often because of the fasting that we do as well. Yeah. But you have to think about, okay, if I've already lowered the carbs, all right, and I don't want to eat, I want to eat a moderate amount of protein, then my fats have to be up.
Right.
You still have to have an energy source. You still have to feed your body.
Right.
So a lot of times, one of the things that people, it's ingrained, and we had to overcome this a little bit as well, is eating so much fat because we were taught for years and years and years, don't eat fat, don't eat fat, don't eat fat.
Right. You think, I'm going to have a heart attack if I eat the fat, and when you get used to doing it, it adds, again,
taste.
The Lord is so good.
Yeah.
Yes, it adds so much flavor to like whether it's a steak or whether it is, bacon or an egg. Egg has fat.
Yeah, and it makes you feel full. I mean, it's all hormonal, guys.
It is.
Really is, because there's hormones in your stomach called ghrelin that makes you feel full.
Right.
So it activates that. So there's so many things that are so good about this.
Right.
The other thing is sleep. If you're not sleeping,
right.
If you're having trouble getting ketosis, or you got there and you can't get back in, but you're doing the same things, check your sleep. It's again hormonal. If you're not sleeping, your stress level goes up, your cortisol goes up, it makes your insulin go up. And we talked about a minute ago, to get in ketosis for the breakdown in fat in your liver, you have to have a lower amount of insulin. So if you're not sleeping well, that's a very common trigger for it. Stress, for the same reason we just talked about with the sleep. There's a lot of things that go into play. So it's not just one column, and you just have to worry about that in your life. There's so many things that interact. One thing affects another. So if you're having trouble getting ketosis or getting there, staying there, whatever it may be, check your stress level out. And then also exercise. Exercise helps, because especially if you do fasting exercise. The more I read about it, I used to do working out at lunchtime, and I used to do protein shakes before and after and all that kind of stuff. Don't do that anymore. But I work out fasting, and you walk fasting every morning.
Yeah.
So fasting exercise, you have to have the energy. And if you're doing an exercise program, whether it's just walking or you're lifting weights, it doesn't really matter. If you've been doing it on a standard American diet, doing the protein shakes before and after and all this kind of stuff, and you switch over to the ketogenic lifestyle, those workouts at the beginning are not going to be very good.
You might feel like you're just really tired and you have no energy, and I just can't get through it.
If you're lifting weights, your weights are going to go down, things like that. But the good news is, if you keep doing it and you press through it, in 2 to 3 weeks,
it usually doesn't take that long.
Oh yeah, you're going to bounce back, and you're going to probably be, for me personally, lifting more. My exercise programs has gotten better since being on the ketogenic diet. But I just want to give you that word of caution. If you've never done keto and you're exercising and you try to do the same exercise program while changing your diet, it may go down a little bit, but just temporary. Yeah. Just like anything else.
And if you're wondering about fasting, you just listened to this, you've not listened to us before, go back. We've done some
3-part series.
Yeah, we've done series on fasting. Fasting is not eating less; it's eating less often.
Right.
And it is still all the benefits of the autophagy and just everything that we've talked about before. Really go back and listen to the fasting and understand we're not talking about starvation. We're not talking about ruining your metabolism. We're not talking about any of those things. You go back and listen, because there's a lot of benefits with it that really does help also get you into ketosis.
So 5 tips besides lowering your carbs.
Right.
That's a mainstay. Yeah. Okay. So 5 tips. You need to track your foods.
Right.
You have to track them, because we did we do several podcasts on that, and the one we use is MyFitnessPal. It's a free one. We don't upgrade to the paid version. Don't even know what's on the paid version, to tell you the truth. But you have to track it. You have to track it and see where you're at. Because like Danae talked about before, is a lot of people think they're doing good, and they start tracking them, and they're still eating 100, 150 carbs and carbs per grams per day.
And making sure not just tracking what you're eating, but what how much you're eating, but what is in what you're eating. Because you can't just blindly say, every once in a while, of course, you go out to a restaurant or you're at someone's house. You're not going to say, tell me everything you put in here. I mean, there comes a point. Yeah, that's rude. So, but really look at your spices. I
would think about doing it.
I know you would. Maybe to a close friend. But, really look and see what all's in it. Because sometimes you just think, and I think that's a lot of times, depends on your personality. If you don't know, you think, well, if I don't know,
Stick that
but
in
it
the
doesn't.
sand.
Yeah, but it doesn't help you. It doesn't get to the goal, and then it's just like, you just have to know. I mean, it's like almost like your finances. Sadly, some of us, I'll say me, I don't, one of those things with finances, you talk about budget, you talk about all this stuff. I just say, okay, just give me how much I can spend. I don't need to know anything else.
And that's not for me, guys.
No, I know it.
That's
Yeah,
for her.
it is because I just,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's just the way we roll here.
Yeah, it's just personalities, I guess. But it really does help to track. Okay.
So number 2 is add intermittent fasting,
Yes.
or once you start doing that, some extended day fasting. Like we talked about before, a lot of this has to do with hormones, and if you drop your insulin, of course, if you're not eating, your insulin's going to go down.
Yeah.
So it's going to help with that. So add some intermittent fasting, even if you've never fasted before. If you do like a 12-hour fast, like where you're eating for 12 hours, off for 12 hours, that's a big jump for some people.
Yeah.
Because they eat late at night, eat first thing in the morning. Just eat at 8 o'clock at night and then don't eat again until 8 in the morning. That's a 12-hour fast.
Right, yeah.
I mean, you've been sleeping. Obviously, we would want you to extend that to a little bit longer, but if you've never fasted before, that's a great place to start.
That's a wonderful place to start, yeah.
Number 3, track your macros. And what I mean by this is, like, if you've been doing well and you have
you used to be in ketosis,
and you
now
quit
you're
getting
kind of
your
like,
results, and we did a podcast on this a couple weeks ago called Carb Creep. Listen to that. If you've been a veteran of the ketogenic diet, but now you notice, hey, I've put on a few pounds, my clothes are fitting tighter, something like that, start tracking your food back. If you got away from it, that way it can help let you know if you're in that carb creep category. Number 4, and you alluded to this a little bit, is eat at home.
That's not fun.
Yeah, no. So, but it's important.
It
because
is.
One, even if it's at a friend's house or especially at a restaurant, you don't know what's in the food.
Yeah.
You have no idea, and it could be some stuff that when they and I'm not a cook here, you have to help me here, but like coleslaw. Some people put sugar in it, right?
I used to.
Yeah. So like if you go somewhere and if you're eating coleslaw, like the cabbage, right?
Yeah.
And the mayonnaise and some spices.
Right.
That's probably okay.
But most people don't do that. If you eat coleslaw, most people know there is some form of a sugar in it.
So
there just is.
Yeah. So if you're not cooking it yourself, and if you don't want to stick your head in the sand because you're not going to get results by doing that, eat at home.
Right.
And the thing about it is we've done this too. Is we may concentrate on doing that for a couple weeks and not go out.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It is.
If you don't go out to eat for a couple weeks, a couple months.
Especially we still are in coronavirus. We're still in quarantine a lot of places. It's not as convenient to go out to eat. It's not,
you have to wait and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So you can make it at home.
Make it a, good, a good reason, say, okay, I'm really going to, so that I can track, so I can know what I'm getting in. Plus, it's going to help save you money.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, really, so.
And number 5 is increase your exercises.
Yeah.
And especially if you do some high intensity interval training or you do some weightlifting.
Yeah.
Those 2 type of things will help your body. It helps with your metabolism anyway, but it also helps with the upper regulation of the insulin.
Yeah.
So you don't have to use as much of it. And therefore, it will help you with the ketosis as well.
Plus, it just helps you mentally also. Just to exercise and work out, it
This
really
is just
does help you.
another reason for exercise.
Right, yeah.
So hopefully anything else? Okay,
probably.
I think that was good. Hopefully that helped you guys. If you have any questions about this, you can always contact us. One thing that we're getting ready, we're putting it together for January 1st, is our Keto 10 Pound Down Challenge. And we're going to take some people through 30 days of getting them from point A to point B, and we're going to get you down 10 pounds.
Yes.
And if you follow us...
and that's probably really at least 10
Yeah, at least 10
pounds. I mean,
pounds.
we're going to say,
Depends
most
on where
people,
you're at.
depends on what you're doing, where you're at, how
And we're-
serious and all that.
And we're going to be very involved with you guys during this challenge to help get you where you want to go. And it's going to be one of those things where you're going to not only lose the weight, but you're also going to learn some of the techniques that we do to help not only lose it, but keep losing it and keep it off for a long period of time, like your lifetime.
Yeah.
All right, our verse.
All right, our verse today comes from Psalm 119:30. I have chosen the way of faithfulness. I have set my heart on your laws. That's good.
Your heart.
Yeah.
That's important. And that really, we can think about doing stuff, but our heart is deceitful. But with our heart, that's where we need to give it over to God, and set the faithfulness of Him, not of us.
Right. He's the one, that's faithful.
Yeah,
We're not
He's
faithful.
the one that's faithful, not us. And one thing that I think has been talked a lot about, and you talk about this a lot, is whenever it becomes I doing something, that takes everything off from God.
Right.
If you're thinking about, I'm faithful. No, no, He is faithful.
He's faithful.
He is faithful.
Yeah.
We're not faithful.
No.
We try to be, but He is 100% all the time, 24/7, 365, all our life faithful.
Yes.
So.
Yep.
All right. Anything else?
I think we're good.
All right, guys.
Oh, well, actually, we just had, for those listening in the U.S., we just had the election this past week.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's still things, I was going to say what's been going on in our lives, but there's been a lot, I guess. But still, as of today, Sunday, November 8th, we, I think they have said that Biden has won, but I guess some of the states, there's some lawsuits and things like that from, I think a lot of it stems from the mail-in voting. Maybe they found some votes. Maybe I'm not even really sure. I really am honest. It's come to a point, of course, like we've said before, it doesn't matter who is president. Jesus is king. And so we know that He will work things all out to the good for those who are called faithful and who love Him. But we're still, we don't know. We don't know, supposedly Biden is our president. And if he is, we are not, we will pray for him. On both sides, there's always going to be policies that you don't agree with. There's always going to be, someone that, you think, I don't know that I stand with that on both sides. But we do need to remember to pray for our leaders, pray for our elected officials, pray for the United States. We really need unity. We don't have to agree with each other on everything, but we can agree to disagree, and we don't have to hate someone and cause a big uproar just because we don't agree with them. You can stand in with what you believe in. I think that's what's wonderful about the United States, or it used to be, that we could stand for what we believe and be able to say what we believe and be okay with it. There is freedom of speech. We can honestly, and if I don't agree with the way someone else talks, that's okay. It's like, go ahead. I'm glad that they have the freedom that they can speak, the things that they speak. So we just need to remember to pray for our officials, and still don't get an uproar if it's something that, if someone doesn't believe the way you believe, that's okay. Talk to them, pray for them, and just that goes a long way just by not getting into a shouting and an argument.
I think if you're going to go down that where you have disagreements with someone, don't let it be about the taxes. Don't let it be about those type of issues. Let it be about the things that are important to God. The sanctity of life.
Right. Yeah. That's a big one.
What does Scripture say about that? With taxes, Jesus told the Pharisees, pay Caesar what's Caesar's and pay God what's God's at the temple. So He didn't say well, they should be paying more taxes, less taxes. It just whatever the law was, because ultimately God put whoever, if it's Biden, President Biden elect, if it's him, that's who God put there.
Right.
So whatever happens with those type of things, but let your focus be upon eternal things. The eternal things are the things that we really need to be focused on. It's not, do you pay 40% or 20% or 60% of your taxes? Obviously, no one wants to pay a lot of taxes, or at least we don't want to pay, but we pay what we pay. But let the things be, the conversations be on eternal things, because, God can work so much in someone else's heart. We can't change it, but God can. If you look at the Pharaoh coming out of Egypt, he hardened his heart. Because that was part of God's plan. It wasn't a surprise. But Nebuchadnezzar, he changed his heart. There's many things that God can do that we can't, and we just have to trust Him and pray for our leaders, because that's what we're told to do. So it's one of those things. Let's just step back too. You know, if you have been a President Trump supporter and now President Biden's there, you know, Scripture doesn't say pray for the leaders that you like.
Right.
It says pray for your leaders.
Right.
And that's what we need to do. And let God work in their lives. You know, stand up for the things that you need to stand up for. But on the other issues, just pray.
Right. That's
what it comes down to. All right, guys, remember, be fit and be faithful.